Thank you to our lovely MCs for that great introduction. Welcome to this fireside chat on Girl Up and youth activism in the Asia Pacific region. I'm your moderator for this session, and I'm excited to be in conversation with two incredible activists and leaders from the Girl Up community. Aiden and Ashleigh, it's great to have you here. To start on an exciting note, how has being part of Girl Up influenced your understanding and engagement with youth activism? Aiden, let's start with you.
Um, all right, it's been a great experience actually working with Girl Up. And I started working with Girl Up when I started high school. And that is prior to that, I really believed that, you needed to grow up to actually make a difference. And you were like really too young to start doing something that you were passionate about. But Girl Up made me realize that, it is not the age that matters, it's actually the intentions. So yeah, that really opened up my worldview.
I think that's such a great point as well. And that's something that I've definitely realized being a part of Girl Love is that it doesn't just take the people in the formal leadership positions in government or parliament to kind of affect change at a larger scale. It can also be people that are in schools that, have connections with their local community sporting clubs and things like that. So I definitely think something that I've realized being a part of Girl Up is that social impact can be affected on so many different scales with people of any age, really, and the impact can be really profound.
Thank you for sharing your personal journeys of activism with us. Building on my last question, can you share some key accomplishments or initiatives that you and your fellow club members have undertaken over the last year?
So one of our larger events last year was IMCAN. It was titled IMCAN, and it was a pitching event based on finding small solutions to real life and like small problems that were affecting schoolgoers at that point. And it didn't need to be a huge issue like global warming, but a small issue that people faced on a day-to-day basis, and probably coming up with a solution to that.
Yeah, definitely as being the oceanic regional leader, there are so many initiatives that have happened over the last couple of years or the last year even, with both Australia and New Zealand predominantly. Um, a series of clubs over the last year started this movement. They call it a digitee. So basically, it's an event that's kind of held like a high tea, and students or club members bring in sanitary products, which are then donated to local women's homeless shelters across the state and the country, wherever the clubs are. And this initiative has really, grown like wildfire over the last year, and it's had a really, really great impact that you can follow. We've also had clubs that have taken part in initiatives with making birthing kits, which are basically then sent to women overseas in developing countries that don't always have access to sanitary birthing institutes to have their own children. So it's just little things like that in our very privileged societies that we're a part of that you don't think of that can have such a really great impact for people in need.
Those are some truly, truly incredible initiatives, Aiden and Ashley. Now, reflecting on your experience within Gulab, can you perhaps share a specific story or example where the connections formed in your region helped spark a collective action or campaign that has made a meaningful difference in advancing gender equality?
So based in India, there's a lot of diversity across the country, right? And as a part of, I remember there was this one competition and an event we held that was to the aim was to raise funds for the sex workers working in Delhi and in Tamil Nadu because the COVID had really affected their occupation. So the Delhi clubs and Tamil Nadu clubs had all come together to prepare this event called Pixel Kala, which dealt with having a Canva boot camp in the first half and a competition in the later half to raise funds for the sex workers. And it was a great event where we had people from the north and the south of the country just coming together and working towards a singular goal. It was a really wholesome experience.
We've had some really great joint initiatives that have spanned it across the whole oceanic region. One of the most prominent ones I can think of is we had a club in New Zealand who held a really simple bake sale and raised enough money to buy 5 push bikes, which were then sent to a community overseas. And these bikes literally gave young females a means of transport to go to school and actually receive an education. This initiative, I think it was such a tangible initiative that people could see that you can have such a great impact without having to bend over backwards to organize these really complicated events. So news of this initiative traveled to Australia, and we've had clubs all over the country now, and also in New Zealand, that have continued the initiative. And every year we send about, like, I think last year potentially we sent over 500 bikes overseas with Girl Up to girls in need. And this also sparked what we call the School Cycle campaign. So that's the official name of this initiative. But it's really, really great that all of these clubs can do things separately, whether they're within their schools, communities, but it all adds to this collective initiative. It's really cool.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. It's so exciting to see the impact that can be made through collective action. Now, reflecting on what strategies have you found most effective in engaging other youth in your region, and how have these efforts contributed to building a stronger network of activists?
I've personally found that interaction is like the key element to actually building a community of like activists. And also acknowledging and appreciating their work regardless of how much of an impact they made. It might be little one affecting one person, there might be an event that affects sports or to affect 100 people, but just appreciating the work they put into it is really important. And also making sure that there's a channel that can allow them to communicate with each other, discuss ideas with each other, because sometimes the best ones just crop out of random discussions with other people where you're literally just brainstorming anything and everything and you're like, oh my god, you could do that, and that goes on to become a really big thing. So just giving a platform, I think, is really important, and it's really helped.
I definitely think this question is not an easy one to answer, as it really depends on who you're working with and who you're trying to communicate with. So I think the first thing I could say is just being flexible is really important, especially when you're engaging with youth all across the country, or even in my case, across an entire region. Making yourself contactable so people can get into contact with you, but also don't underestimate the influence of social media as an example, as being like a sole platform that can bring everybody together, sharing ideas and being able to post highlights about their clubs and what they're doing. So yeah, social media has its place for sure.
Well, this brings me to my final question for the session. In your perspective, what specific issues or movements in India or Australia require immediate attention and active participation from youth activists?
Something I feel, and personally also have seen in my life, despite having been lucky to have a privileged background, is that there is a lot of gender disparity, especially in the STEM area. Um, Coming from a STEM background, there are, the amount of girls in our class versus the amount of boys in our class, there is a huge difference. But I think it can get a lot better with people actually understanding that STEM is not just a should not just be a male dominated field. Change is coming, it's slow, but I think with a bit more of push, it can really, take up to great heights.
I definitely agree with that. I also think COVID had a massive impact on a lot of people in our countries and countries that we also support as well. So ensuring that there's a really great focus on well-being and intention behind whatever actions that you're taking is so important, and making sure that Girl Up is such a great global network of like-minded individuals, but still we are supporting each other in this cause that we are all passionate about. At the end of the day, that will just help our social impact be even greater.
Thank you, Aiden and Ashleigh. I think with that, we can wrap up this fireside chat. It was great having you join us today, and I want to thank you for your incredible work as youth activists and Girl Up leaders. On that note, I'll pass it back to our MCs.